Hello, my name is Steve Pretty. I'm a musician, performer and composer from London, and welcome to my podcast, Steve Pretty on the Origin of the Pieces. This is the show that helps you to hear, understand and enjoy music in new ways. Hello musically curious people, welcome to the show. It's lovely to be back in your ears and eyes, and we've got a very special episode today, a very unusual episode. This is an episode that is dedicated to Nathaniel Dye. I'm going to talk a lot more about Nat in this episode, but let's kick things off straight away with a song that he performed at my Wilton's Music Hall show back in November 2024. This is Nat's public service announcement.
I got cancer, yes I got cancer. It's in my bowels, in my liver and lymph nodes. It's a stage 4, and I know you're surely wondering just how well for me it bodes. Well, the answer isn't blowing in the wind. There is no chance that this cancer will rescind. But as long as assembled doctors that agree, then I might last a bit longer with chemo and surgery. My prognosis, I'm afraid that it is grim. Of survival, well, the chances they are slim. For in 3 years, well, the best that can be said is it's absolutely likely that I'll probably be dead. If you've started wondering why I'm telling you this now, and you've already commenced yawning, well, I urge you to sit up and take notice of this bit, for it serves as a word of warning. For my cancer was discovered far too late, and you'd hope you'd avoid my certain fate. So for starters, if asked for a screening test, then return it right away to ensure your health's at its best. As for symptoms, even if so very slight, you do well to see the NHS website for specifics. And if you have a premonition, act straight away without delay and consult your physician. If uncertain, then the best thing you can do is to occasionally monitor your poo. If it changes, or if you notice any blood, then tell your doctor faster than ever I thought I could. Because honestly, I acted far too late and ignored the symptoms for far too long. So please make sure you don't hesitate, and remember this song. If you're younger, cancer may seem quite absurd, and you may well have to shout just to be heard. But for my sake, please don't persevere, because if you catch this early, you're more likely to be here. So with the few shots, months or years that I have left, I'll tell my story. So fewer people are bereft of the long life that I for one don't have ahead. For it's absolutely likely, well nigh odds uncertain, absolutely likely that I'll probably be dead. I'll be dead.
Give it up for Nat Dye, Nathaniel Dye. Amazing. So that was Nat's song, public service announcement, called that for obvious reasons. Do what the song says. Above all, do what the song says. But you can also check out that song along with the rest of Nat's album in all the usual music streaming places. So do go ahead and do that. As you may have gathered, or maybe you've even seen it in the press, very sadly, Nat passed away about 10 days ago due to complications from the bowel cancer that he talked about in that song and in so much of the rest of his work. He was an extraordinary guy. I'm going to talk more about him later, but I'm very flattered to say that he was also a big fan of the podcast and a big part of the podcast as well. He appeared back in episode 10, and I'm going to rerun that interview a little bit later. But he also appeared at Wilton's Music Hall, did those songs. He was also a hugely passionate advocate for music education. He was an award-winning music teacher in schools, and he conducted brass bands. He played in punk and ska bands. He was a passionate musician of all sorts. And then we recorded this album of piano ballads, and I didn't know that Nat even played the piano. Nat didn't even know that he played the piano, to be honest, but he dedicated himself to learning the piano, like he dedicated himself to so much in his life in those last couple of years. He was such a passionate advocate for music education, and we really hit it off on that. And again, that's why he appeared on the podcast in episode 10 and then at the live shows, and why I'm dedicating this episode to him today. So I'm sure Nat would support me in carrying on what I did in the last episode, which was just replaying some of the bits I did over Christmas, which I called the 12 Days of Listenmas at the time. I've stripped all the Christmas stuff out, don't worry. But before we dig into some of the rest of Nat's legacy and the interview that I did with him and some more of his music and thoughts, I'm going to just play days 5 to 5, 6, 7, 8 of my Listenmas series that I put out on social media. So here's just a few little excerpts of how to listen a bit more like a musician, how to make active listening a part of your life. Here we go. Day 5, I'm in my studio today and I'm building on the work of the last few days where we've been talking about music in time. Now we're moving on from time to what I call colour. Now I think this can encapsulate everything from melodies to harmony and everything in between. But before we even get to that, we need to talk about the sound of a note itself. Right, we've only been looking at rhythm so far. Now we need to zoom in on the note itself. And I think the sound of a note is as important as the note itself and the melody or whatever that it goes on to produce. So here's what I mean. Now, all of those instruments playing that tune were in the same pitch, but they've all got a very, very different characteristic. So today's exercise is very simple. Tune your ears in to do some active listening to whatever music it is you're listening to, and think about the different instruments in that mix. It might be a big piece of orchestral music. What's got the tune? Why have they chosen that? Or it might be, in a song, obviously the singer's going to be singing the tune, but what are the other instruments behind it? Or is there another instrument doubling the tune in the voice? Or what are the characteristics of that singer's voice? So before we can get into melodies and harmony and anything else, think about the quality of the note itself, because that itself can tell a very, very important story and is a very active choice that we as composers and musicians make, and a very helpful thing, I think, as a listener to tune your ears into, to listen like a musician, because that's what we're here to do. So yesterday we talked about the same notes sounding different in different instruments and why that is important. Today we're going to have the same instrument but different notes, and why that is important, because this is the foundational element of melody and harmony. So the core concept today is that notes don't exist in a vacuum. What we're looking at today is how notes relate to one another, and that is how our brain perceives music. So I'm going to play this note on my lovely Rhodes over here, and on my flugelhorn I'm going to play some notes over the top. And every one of those has got a particular colour. And some of those colours feel quite nice, and some of them feel a little bit more clashy, but we can have a whole palette of those colours, and that is what we call a scale or a mode. So that is one colour. What we can do is we can swap out one or more of those notes and it will change the whole feel of it. I'm going to move from one palette to a completely different palette now, and it's important to remember all you're hearing at any one time is two notes. The sound of the Rhodes over here and the notes I'm playing on top. but your whole perceptual framework of how you understand and hear that music will feel different, even though you're only ever hearing two notes at the same time. One of the things I think that really puts people off music and music theory is all of the scales. The most important way of thinking about this is to think about these things as colours, as choices. There's no right or wrong per se, but they all have different feelings. That's what we're really coming back to as composers and musicians, is what that makes us feel when we hear those different palettes, when we shift from one thing to another. So your active listening exercise for today is just to really zoom in on that sense of colour within a piece of music. Are the note choices that the composer or songwriter has made, are they creating tension? Are they creating release? Often they'll be doing both, but sometimes they might shift. Does it shift between the verse and the chorus, for example? Really zero in on the notes that are being played. Don't worry what they are, just think about how they make you feel. Today we're talking about what happens when two notes or more play together. So I've got this lovely Indian Shruti box to help me illustrate this, and if I play this one note and I can add another note. Now in music we call that the interval of a fifth, and you can hear that those notes sound kind of what we call consonant together. In other words, they sound nice together. And there is a physical reason for that. That is because the vibrating air from that first note, the C, is coming at me. Let's say here's the frequency spectrum of that note. In other words, the vibrations per second that is coming to me through the air there. And here is the frequency of that G, the fifth above. So that's lining up like this, right? They're kind of stacked on top of one another in a beautifully organised mathematical way. So once again, let's hear that. Right? Those are consonant notes. Dissonance is also very, very important in music, and that is where the frequencies don't line up like that. They don't stack on top of one another neatly. So if I play instead this, those notes are very close in pitch to one another, but the frequency spectrum of each of those notes don't line up like that. They kind of wobble between them like that. And in fact, if you really tune your ears in to listen, you can hear a kind of pulsing, and that is the waveforms of each of these notes just interacting in a slightly uncomfortable way. You can almost hear and that is the essence of harmony, because musicians manipulate consonance versus dissonance, right? Because music is there, at least in part, to express our deepest emotions as humans. I think it's one of the purest ways we have got to do that. And human emotions are very complicated, right? They're not all consonant. They're often a bit about the mess in the middle and then how we resolve that. Harmony is a physical thing. It is things about waveforms that either line up or that have some tension. It is about the manipulation of dissonance and consonance, tension versus release, and that we do this to express ourselves in particular ways and to make the listener feel particular things. So as you're listening to music, just have a think about how we might be doing that as musicians and how you might be receiving that as listeners. Continue that theme today, talking about the manipulation of tension and release, dissonance and consonance when it comes to harmony. So here is one note, a middle C. Around that, I'm going to play a different series of notes underneath it, and that will completely change how that C feels. Feels like we're at home there somehow. Kind of near to home, but in a comfortable place. Somewhere a bit more uncomfortable, I would say. But that note hasn't changed. That middle C was the same the whole time. So what's happening is we're able to change the feel of a note by moving things around it. Now, once you apply that to a whole melody, you have this amazing way of creating tension and release without changing the tune. So if we take the 12 Days of Listenmas, that's the basic harmony of that, but we can do all sorts of other things with it. all sorts of different ways. There's almost an infinite number of ways that you can manipulate the harmony underneath that main melody, but that same melody doesn't change. As an active listener, what you can do is think about how those different shifts make you feel. Tune your ears into whether it's slightly different and how it's different, and that will help you to understand the purpose of harmony. This is the reason we learn scales. This is the reason we learn things like chords on a guitar or piano. So it's a really, really powerful tool. Maybe it's a songwriter that you love, and when they play the verse one time, it makes you feel a particular way, and then they play the verse the second time. Okay, the lyrics might be different, but maybe there's a very slight tweak to how the harmony, how the notes underneath it work to support that melody. And that little change is what will change the way you feel about it. So there we go, listen like a musician. Let me know how it's going. Are you able to listen like a musician? Do you even want to listen like a musician? I talked in my Wilton's Music Hall show a couple of weeks ago about why I think it's important to develop your listening skills no matter whether you consider yourself a musician or not, and I'll talk about that more in future episodes. But any feedback is welcome about whether you're finding those little tips useful, those ways of deepening your active listening. So to come back to Nat, I want to play the interview that I did with him back in episode 10. This was just after I'd met him. This was a couple of weeks after I met him, I think, back in January, I think it was January 2024. And that year he went on to be on the podcast then, as I say, but I produced this album of songs that I talked about earlier, which you can check out. Again, it's called Matters of Life and Death. And I then had him at my Wilton show performing a couple of songs and talking a little bit. I'm going to play more of those later. But the other thing that I've done with Nat in the last couple of years is, off the back of the album, Nat asked me if I would be prepared to help him put on a live show where he was going to play some of the songs from the album. I should say, in the meantime, he also walked/ran from Land's End to John O'Groats. He ran a marathon playing trombone, as you'll hear about shortly. He did all sorts of extraordinary things. He got an MBE for his work in campaigning around cancer causes and raising money for people like Macmillan. He raised a huge amount for Macmillan and other good causes, and he was just an absolute whirlwind of incredible activity. Absolutely amazing. And again, sorry, Nat. Miss you, mate, but you were an inspiration, and I know you hate being called that, but it's true. So, yes, he was quite an extraordinary guy. He asked me to organise this kind of fundraising concert/gig with him. But really, in the end, I did very little. I just kind of advised on, how to book things, how to structure the show. I helped him. I put a spreadsheet together for how we were going to structure the show. But he booked everyone. It was very much his vision, and it was due to be on the 4th of February, and 2026 had just gone. And sure enough, very, very sadly, Nat died, I guess, about 5 days before that, 5 or 6 days before that. So it was an extremely difficult time for everyone, but it also left me, as well as being very sad, with this slightly tricky thing of producing a show that was Nat's show without Nat there. And the whole show was raising money for Macmillan cancer support. And anyway, long story short, the show went ahead. It was quite an extraordinary bill, very mixed bill. Whatever you think of, particularly the politicians, it was quite an extraordinary evening. We had Wes Streeting there, who, for non-UK listeners, is in the current Labour cabinet, and at the time of recording is not currently Prime Minister, but certainly has prime ministerial ambitions. And we had Ashley Dalton, who's done some incredible work as an MP campaigning for the cancer bill that is just in the Commons right now. And we had Dawn Butler, who is also a cancer survivor and MP. Nat was very clear that he wanted everyone on the bill to be a cancer survivor. So we put on this night where everyone there was a cancer survivor, all of those MPs, but we also had brilliant comedians. We had Rod Gilbert, who has mercifully survived cancer, and we had Matt Ford, who is a wonderful political comedian and satirist who was going to be interviewing the politicians and so on. Anyway, in the end, the show went ahead, of course, very, very sadly, without Nat. Matt Ford took over and interviewed the politicians and did some hosting, and I sort of introduced it and closed it at the end. We also had the Ladies Fighting Breast Cancer Choir, who were brilliant and did a couple of lovely performances, all at King's Place. So it was a very emotional evening, one way or another. And it's the reason this podcast is late is because I had to kind of drop everything and scramble to produce this show in Nat's memory. Of course, first thing I did, of course, was speak to the family and check they wanted it to go ahead. But Nat was ever the consummate professional performer and would definitely have wanted the show to go on. In fact, we had it confirmed when Nat was very ill the last few days of his life that he definitely wanted the show to go ahead. So, yes, it was a very, very special evening. We also had Babel Brass Band, which is a band he played in. We did a little procession out in a kind of New Orleans style, which was, I think, very moving. And so it was quite a difficult night for everyone, quite an exhausting night for me, but a very positive night all in all. And so that's one of the reasons I'm dedicating this episode to Nat, is that I've been working a lot on that show and on kind of securing his legacy for the future. So forgive the indulgence, but I'm sure you'll agree that Nat is an extraordinary guy. And so I'm going to replay that interview that I did with him back from episode 10 about his upcoming, at the time, trombone marathon and about what music meant to him, particularly towards the end of his life after his diagnosis. So here's Nat. This is recorded back in, I think, January 2024.
My name is Nathaniel Dye, and I'm a musician. That's kind of why I'm here.
Yeah.
Also a music teacher, ultra-marathon runner. And unfortunately, I also have stage 4 bowel cancer. And I was diagnosed in autumn of 2022. Essentially I'm dying. So, it's been an interesting year or so.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking to me. We did a gig together this time last week. So we're playing with a band I'm going to be talking about a bit more in the show, Spanner Big Band. Really fun big band, lots of interesting music, running from jazz to rock and funk and various other things. Lots of fun. But you gave a little speech at the end, because we'd met, I think, maybe on one gig before, but didn't know each other before that, really. But then you gave a little speech at the end to the audience in Jamboree in King's Cross in London about your situation, because you're raising money, right?
Yeah, so I decided, with joint passions of music and running, and with a really good cause to raise money for, Macmillan Cancer Support, I decided to go for running the London Marathon, which is going to be in April, whilst playing the trombone. Yeah, that generally gets that kind of reaction.
It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I've in fact inquired with Guinness to see if it could be a world record, but they won't recognise it for some reason.
Oh, really?
Maybe because you could, I don't know, do a honk at the beginning and just run with it for the whole time.
Yeah. But I see you're on brand here, drinking the Guinness Zero, trying to get them on side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be the zero because I got liver cancer, so I probably shouldn't,
Yeah.
But so I've decided to challenge myself with that, apart from just running whilst playing. So if you donate to my fundraiser, which you can find through bowelcancerbucketlist.com, then you can choose a song for me to have to learn and play whilst I'm running the London Marathon.
It's absolutely... I mean, I can't imagine running a marathon at the best. I mean, it's the kind of marathon problem, isn't it? You can't imagine running a marathon until you've done it. I mean, I do a bit of running, for like 15, 20 minutes here and there, and that's plenty for me. But so the thought of running the marathon full stop is terrifying, let alone playing a brass instrument all the way around, and let alone with stage 4 bowel cancer. I mean, it's like absolutely insane challenge.
Well, it feels insane at the moment, especially because unfortunately I'm now going through chemo again. So I have various side effects, which means I get about maybe 2 runs in per 3-week cycle. So I'm just hoping I'll have a bit of a break by April in order to just do it. But I mean, people kind of say, oh, well, if you can do it, that'd be great. But for me, that's not good enough.
Right.
I'm going to get to the start line, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's got quite a generous kind of community feel time limit of 8 hours, I believe. So if I need to just make it into some kind of march rather than run, that's going to happen. It's just however you get to finish. I mean, it's similar with the ultras as well, because I've got 400 milers to my name. The most recent of which
400 miles.
Well, 4 times 100 miles, So
God.
The most recent of those was when I set up a challenge of running from Harwich in Essex, and there's a trail called the Essex Way that goes up to Epping, just outside of London, and then London's about another 20 miles, so it was 100 miles, and that was with all that's going on and a colostomy.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, so I've definitely got the endurance. Let's just if I've got the puff whilst running. Had a little bit of a go. I mean, uphill is a bit difficult, but I don't know. It's going to be just the best atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I've got Warwick Music who make the plastic trombones, the P-bone.
Yeah.
They've kindly sent me an instrument.
Nice.
I'm going to strap a speaker and to my waist belt and play some backing tracks.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
I'm not just on my own. And I'm kind of scared of some of the repertoire that I'm going to get given, really. I've had some quite bonkers stuff like Mars from the Planet, which is in 5/4 and running whilst doing that. There's a Tchaikovsky waltz, which is in 5/4 as well. But I think really long, slow stuff is going to be the enemy, potentially. So
well,
just
it's the
having
enemy.
to hold notes.
Even on a gig, this long, slow stuff's the enemy, right? Let alone running a marathon.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which is going to be worse, the lips or the lungs.
Of course.
Or the feet, because it can take me 8 hours, but I haven't really played for 8 hours either.
Yeah, right.
On its own. How long do we end up playing brass instruments for?
Yeah, maybe a couple of hours tops. Or we met in the studio, maybe, sometimes 6-8 hours, but like with breaks, not running a marathon at the same time.
Well, after this last gig where I did the shout out, I got a really, really generous song suggestion, which came with a donation, which was have 5 minutes off.
Basically,
5 minutes.
Surely
of silence.
4:33 is that's what you need to do. The John Cage piece, 4 minutes 33 seconds.
Absolutely.
That's what we need to do.
A big part of that is just the incidental noises that happen in the audience in a silent space.
Exactly. So sorry for clarity for people who are listening who don't know what that is. It's a piece by John Cage which has no notes in it. It's not silent but it's all about listening to what the incidental noise in space is, as you say. So yeah, there you go. 4:33 is a good suggestion, right? Sponsor.
Well, there we go. Maybe I get 27 bonus seconds. I don't know.
Exactly.
But that was pretty cool. So I've got at least one little period of respite.
That's great. But just coming into the music, because when we were talking after the gig last week, we were talking about because you've really. I mean, what was your background? What is your background?
Well, I'm a classically trained musician, and I became a music teacher straight away. And I'm a primary school music teacher. Pretty successful, actually. Our primary school won a national award recently.
Right, well.
Just as things are going pretty badly for me personally, the professional life was hotting up.
It's taking up for it, right?
Took a music school group to the Albert Hall for the Music for Youth proms.
Amazing.
So yeah, all sorts of really, really good experiences. Well, actually, I'm really proud of one thing that a lot of people just think I'm bonkers for doing, which is after a load of cancer treatment, I had chemotherapy, then emergency surgery because I got a bowel obstruction. And then I decided pretty much as soon as my body would let me to go back into the classroom. And people were looking at me and thinking, what on earth are you doing back here? You could take early retirement. You could go to a beach somewhere. I remember one musician telling me, God, what are you doing here on this gig? You could be anywhere else but here. You could be on a beach sunning yourself, just having the most comfortable life, but here am I just choosing to make music with kids, and it took having all of that ripped away from me, I think, to really realise how amazingly rewarding and special being a musician and being a teacher is, and how I think this probably sounds a bit more profound than it is, but it's the best use of the time I've got left. I don't know why, but I just feel like I need to still make that contribution, even though I don't have to. It's very strange.
But I think isn't that just an extension of why we all do it? Because I think that the idea that you become a musician for the money is obviously, if you're doing that, you're making a very strange choice. Oh, it's got very noisy in this pub. Sorry, but so in a sense, we all do it out of a sense of vocation, passion, and drive to because it's something we believe in, and we believe in the communicative power of music to touch other people and all of those things. And obviously for you that has been accelerated, but I guess it makes you focus in even more on your priorities.
I think music now makes me feel in a different way. Like so many musical experiences just mean a little bit more. Like one of the first things I did when I was diagnosed and trying to process it all was I started writing a song, just like me and a piano, a kind of tearjerker ballad type thing about ringing the bell that you get to ring when you're cancer free, and it just helped me kind of be a bit resolute about it all and think, right, look, whatever happens, whatever I have to go through, whatever hell, I'm still going to keep going, because just having this moment in my head of ringing this bell that I have to walk past in hospital every day, I'm just going to hang on to that. And unfortunately, since...
Good timing with the food bell going off behind us.
Ding dong. Unfortunately, since I wrote that song, I won't be ringing any bells now. It's the cancer is officially classed as spread so far that any treatment is now palliative, essentially. So they're just looking to contain whatever's there. But I still kind of sing that to myself just to provide a bit of comfort. And then a few other songs have started to just come into my head, and various songs are in various stages of half-finishedness. You know how it is with, I guess this is a concept album, like a cancer concept album now that might eventually see the light of day, who knows? But creativity is really strange. So I've had various bits of trauma in my life, and at one point I thought, right, okay, this tragedy has happened to me. I'm going to be really creative now. I'll have all sorts of things to write about, to sing about, and this is going to just produce this amazing creative spark. And the opposite happened. Right. I just had nothing in me. It was too much for me to do any creating. But I don't know, I'm recently, it's just produced some really good music. So maybe both things are true. Maybe tragedy produces great music and it's okay for it not to. Yeah, absolutely. Well, but you do, I think it's, people deal with things in different ways, and music and creativity is, I guess, one way of dealing with things that can be really effective. But it's not always a cure-all. Sometimes you need just space and time to process things before you're able to be creative, I imagine. I don't know. It's a case of I'm off for chemo now. I could potentially spend, even if it's 10 minutes a day at the piano, just working out the songs that are kind of in my head and putting them into fruition. But somehow that's not happening. Yeah. Who knows how to become productive? We have all sorts of ways. Maybe I need a deadline or something. Sorry, that sounds pretty morbid. I'm not sure. Can I say the word deadline anymore without that having connotations?
Man, I think you have earned the right, more than earned the right, to say whatever you like in that context, I think.
But yeah, the humour's become really dark now.
I'm sure.
In all sorts of ways. So yeah, I say stuff like that, and I think, yeah, actually, that's really funny.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, all sorts of things just happen now. I've got a song about, just raising awareness and just making it a little bit frivolous. I've attempted to make a kind of joke song, which is like a blues about my stoma, which is a colostomy bag, which I've named Homer, essentially because it's going to rhyme in a song. I thought that was too good an opportunity not to.
Homer, nice. Yeah,
and so Homer's song has like a solo from Homer, because maybe this is slightly puerile, I must admit, but like Homer has like a kind of fart solo in the middle.
Excellent.
Because this just happens to me. I'm surprised it hasn't happened on this recording, just making lots of like noises, because I can't control this now.
Of course.
But I haven't really got a way to make it happen in the middle either, so I just buzz my lips or might get a brass mouthpiece or something.
His name is Homer Stoma. He's not a melanoma. His name is Homer Stoma. Watch out, word, 'cause Homer's here to stay.
But speaking of which, you're a fantastic trombone player. You were playing in the gig last week, and we're about to play again. And I'd try and record some of the gig tonight, because I'm interested from the point of view. So, we talked about the creativity of writing songs and things, but also from the point of view of like practicing your instrument and maintaining. Because I've talked about on the podcast in the past the difficulty of maintaining your chops as a brass player, your abilities and your musculature to play the instrument at a high level. It's not easy at the best of times, and it can be hard to find the motivation. But can you just talk briefly about that side of things and the trombone playing, and because you're sounding absolutely fantastic last week, and you said you've been sitting in with West End orchestras. You've really thrown yourself into that side of things as well, into kind of, the musical life. Do you mind just talking about like your trombone playing specifically, I guess, and what that means, that being a player as well as being somebody who writes songs about your situation means?
Well, it's really interesting that you call me a fantastic trombone player there, because I've got the biggest sense of imposter syndrome.
Well, I have to say that's something we all share, I think, right? We all most musicians feel like, I'm not really a proper musician like so-and-so is. But I'm from my point of view, you sounded absolutely really great.
I think it happens especially to teachers who are also musicians.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Because you think, I'm just not there, with the best way in the world. When you're a teacher, you generally can't practice as much.
Yeah.
Playing gigs in the evening and then having to get up at 5 o'clock to get lessons ready, etc.
Oh, wow.
They don't go well together.
No.
In fact, it's really weird. Since I've been on sick leave for chemo, I've been doing way more playing than I had done otherwise.
Right.
But I do as much as I can to maintain. There are various things that just get in the way.
Of course.
Like, of course. I mean, with chemo treatment. Hey, they're starting up. With chemo. I get this side effect called peripheral neuropathy, which is like intense pins and needles in hands, feet, and throat.
Oh, wow.
And it means I can't really touch brass instruments for a little bit, and it wears off through the cycle. But I find that I generally just do what I can.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit of playing here and there. I mean, especially, if there's a gig, as there's a rehearsal, I won't put my hand up for lead trombone. I'll play third or something, so I don't have to necessarily go for it and like exhaust my lips.
Yeah.
But one thing I've really noticed from the last year or so is that having cancer doesn't necessarily get you a yes to asking for stuff, but it definitely gets people listening. So I found my way into all sorts of absolutely fantastic opportunities as a musician. I've just worked my way into all sorts of groups. Started depping with a band called Babel Brass.
Yep.
Played with a bit with a ska punk band called Filthy Militia. That's just because I kind of heard there might be an opening and just was brave enough to say, yeah, can I do that?
And would you have done that before your diagnosis, do you think?
Probably not, because I wouldn't have been confident enough that I'd be good for it. But now, like in all sorts of aspects of not just music but life, I think, God, at this point I might as well have a go. Like,
I hate to sort of be simplistic and try and reduce things down to kind of easy sound bites. But is that not something that we should all take a lesson from, right? In terms of, I mean, obviously you're in this very awful situation. And by the way, I haven't yet said I'm really terribly sorry for your situation. It's really awful.
Thanks.
I've been trying to keep it light, but it's obviously it's really appalling, and I'm very, very sorry that you're having to go through that. But equally, I had I won't talk about it now because it's not time, but I had a sort of near-death experience a few years ago, but we're all closer to that than we might think. I mean, for you, it's much more known than it is for most people day to day. But it's a cliche, but I could get knocked down by a bus on the way home today. So in terms of taking those opportunities when they're there and kind of going for things, if you're feeling a bit nervous or feeling a bit of the imposter syndrome that everyone's got and stuff, would you say there's something? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say that that's something that we can kind of...
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm making this overly simplistic as well, but there are times when I think, God, knowing that I'm dying soon, that's a bit of a gift. It means I can just go for stuff, and I don't have to worry about feeling validly worth it.
Yeah.
Because at least I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I may not deserve to be here, but well, I'm here, so I may as well take the opportunities that are there. Like it's led to all sorts of things. Like I've written about, I'm getting on for 10,000 words now in national newspapers and magazines.
Yeah.
All sorts of things, just because I started telling my story and started getting into it and asked people if they wanted my piece in their paper, and it's snowballed.
It's amazing.
You know?
It's amazing.
So it's just take these chances. You may as well, and in some ways as well, the pressure's off. Like I don't have to worry about career development. It's like I wrote a big long thing actually about how toxic Ofsted is, and actually, part of that was spurred on by the fact that I'm probably not going to be here for the next one that my school has.
Right. Okay.
I can
quite
just
liberating.
the teaching bit can just be the joyous parts. I take all the joy, and I don't have to worry about all the rubbish that surrounds it.
No, of course.
Personally, anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, I do what's required for the kids.
Yeah.
All sorts of aspects. I can just live with a kind of freedom that just wouldn't have been there. Like I have nothing to prove now to anyone. And yeah, when you've run 100 miles with cancer, you think, God, what else do I have to prove? Look, I've made a statement now. I've come back to work. I've made statements about living as well as I possibly can. Obviously, I'll continue to do that. But in some ways, I mean, obviously, this is absolutely rubbish. I'd rather not have cancer, don't get me wrong. I once heard, I think it was You, Me and the Big C podcast on the BBC, and they were saying, well, I'm not certain I'd necessarily go back. It's part of me now. And
interesting.
I think finally I get that.
Right.
At the time, I really wasn't happy with that statement. But God, in some ways, it's brought opportunities, it's brought joy that wouldn't have otherwise been there.
That's so interesting.
And so some people keep telling me I've lived more life in the last year than I might have lived in the next 40 anyway.
I think it's obviously, and this is again a very overused statement, but it's obviously very, very inspiring. But I also just go back to what I was saying just now, which is that all of us are life is unpredictable, and again, you know, whether it's being in a car accident or getting knocked down by a bus or being, you know, having a diagnosis or whatever it might be, no one knows what's around the corner. And so, for me, one of the wonderful things about music, and when I was talking to you about it last week, if it's something that you're passionate about, either as a listener or as a player or as, you know, as someone musically curious, it's an amazing adventure, and I think that's what was really inspiring talking to you now and a bit last week. It was just embracing that adventure for its own sake, and of course all the amazing running you're doing and everything else as well. So I think it's really, I'm going to say it again, it's really inspiring, you know, and so thanks very much for that.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. And if anyone's interested in my story, you can go to bowelcancerbucketlist.com, and that's got all sorts of stuff, a few press links and whatever, and most importantly links to the Macmillan fundraiser, which is about $7,500 at the moment.
Oh, congratulations, that's great. Yeah, but thanks so much for that. That was really, really great. We've got to go and play some music together.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Cheers, Steve. Appreciate it.
Nice one, Nat. That was great, man. Really great. So quite poignant listening back to that interview, just Nat getting excited about that trombone marathon that he had coming up, and then walking to Land's End to John O'Groats and all the other extraordinary things that he did in the last couple of years of his life. I'm going to wrap up the episode now, and so thank you very, very much for listening. I'm going to play the episode out with a couple of tracks from Nat, the first of which is a song called Inspiration, which we did on his album. And if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you can see a kind of slideshow of some pictures that his family and friends sent me that were taken in the last few years of his life, when he was raising all sorts of incredible money for Macmillan Cancer and various other organisations with his Bowel Cancer Bucket List page, which you can still donate to right now. So I urge you to do so. In lieu of any other plugs this episode, I urge you to go to Macmillan Cancer or to Bowel Cancer Bucket List.com and donate anything you can afford to do. But I will leave you with the song Inspiration, and then the very final song is the song that we closed my Wilton's Music Hall show that Nat appeared at with back in November 2024. It's an old folk song, and I think you will get the meaning for it. And by the way, if you are watching this, as I said to the live audience the other day, you will see a member, the bassist for Pink Floyd, Guy Pratt, who is going to be a future interviewee in the show. I interviewed him back at that Wilton show that Nat did. He is fiddling with his bass because he couldn't get it to work during that song. And I think that is something, Nat clearly has a dark sense of humour, and I think he would have appreciated the fact that at his gig and now talking to you, there is a video of Nat singing a very moving song while a member of Pink Floyd tries to get his bass guitar to work behind him in quite a distracting and entertaining way. Anyway, we very much miss you, Nathaniel, and yes, I will speak to you, everyone, in a couple of weeks. Stay musically curious.
Today I feel okay, almost like a normal person, but I've been to hell and back, and one thing is for certain, it's hard for me to say this, but even I can not deny that I deserve a healthy summer, crowned with azure skies, and it seems I have some license now, free of life's constraints, to do whatever comes to me until this reverie fades. Summer straight to winter, and then it will be time to return to the suffering that will always be mine. So now is when I look ahead and try to find a way to be the inspiration I'd like to see one day. Am I a brave, courageous, heroic human being? Just living a little more, the bad days left unseen. Not with us simply I could, a shadow of my former self, but it's misunderstood that simply keeping going really isn't special, even if some days it's not easy. But what they say is really true, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step and then another. So if you talk the talk, won't you take a walk with me away from mediocrity to something special? Will you take my hand as we strive towards Tomorrowland? I'll place a baton in your hand for you to take the path you dream of. And if I inspire you, please just think what you can do with a life that's yours to live. And when I'm dead and gone, remember this song and live, really live for me.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and of all the harm that e'er I done, I hope it was to none but me. But since it falls unto my lot that you should rise and I should not, I'll gently stir and softly call good night and joy be with you all. A man may drink, yet not be drunk. A man may fight, yet still be slain. A man may court a worthy life, yet see it slip away from him. But since it has so ordered been by a time to rise and a time to fall, come fill to me the parting glass. Good night, and joy be with you.